In The Price of Freedom, we take you back to World War II and the Battle of the Bulge.
Now, Josh Rowe has the story of a Chattanooga man who was there. Josh.
Kim Calvin, the Battle of the Bulge was a campaign that lasted for 6 weeks, one of the most important battles in World War II. The German army attacked the Allied forces. They were in the mountains in Belgium, France, and Luxembourg. Chattanooga's Harold Sanders was there.
I was working in the shipyard in Newport News, Virginia, and I didn't like it that much. It's cold. So I knew I was going to be drafted soon. So I quit and came back home in Hayesville, North Carolina, and waited till I got the notice.
He was attached to an engineer battalion as a medic. The first combat he saw was at the Battle of the Bulge. There, U.S. forces saw their highest casualties for any operation during the war. Harold Sanders made it through all of that. He then went through France, on to Germany.
Close to Dortmund, Germany, was where I got hit.
He was hit April 8th, 1945. The war in Europe ended on May 8th. The engineers he was with were trying to clear a roadblock.
There was a rock wall about so far between the elevation of this yard and this yard that I was on. I made it up over that wall. The mortar shell hit right behind the wall. And apparently one piece of the mortar shell shrapnel went through the wall, hit me in the arm and back.
The injury took him out of the war. His arm hasn't been the same since.
They were going to take my arm off because the shrapnel had cut a groove in the bone but didn't break it. And they were going to take my arm off, and the doctor, along with, conferred with other doctors and everything, and he agreed to try to save it.
Mr. Sanders says if it wasn't for that doctor, he would have lost his arm.
He had me out throwing balls. He played catch with me to get me to use it. I couldn't straighten it for a month or so.
When he recovered, he was sent back to North Carolina for leave. But at that point, the war was still being fought in the South Pacific.
And I was at the house, and we finally heard it on the radio that the war was over in Japan. And the bell started ringing over at the courthouse in town, and the church bells ringing and everything. The school right across the road from where we lived had a big bell for the classes and so forth. So I hurried down to the school and rung the bell for I don't know how long.
Harold Sanders moved to East Tennessee to work for TVA. He worked there for 28 years in Polk County, Kingston, and Chattanooga.